Let's go. Let's go. We are here. We are here. Let me know if everybody can hear me. Let me know if everybody can hear me. Let me know if everybody can hear me. Salute to everybody that's coming in. Get ready to watch this train wreck and watch Joe Biden mumble and bumble all through this. Okay, everybody so they can hear? Okay. Salute to everybody that's coming in. Come on in, come on in, come on in. Salute to everybody. Please hit that like button as you come in. I really, really appreciate it. Please hit that like button as y'all come in. Let's go. We are waiting for President Biden to hold a press conference so he can mumble and bumble, total collapse. The Democrats are trying to force Joe Biden out. They trying to get Joe Biden out of here. So is Joe Biden going to announce that he's getting out, or he going to try to put on his big boy pants and say, I'm staying in the race? So we shall see. As y'all can see, we are waiting on the press conference to start. What y'all think Joe Biden gonna do? Let me know. Let me know what y'all think Joe Biden is going to do this press conference. Is he going to step down? Is he ready to step down? Salute to everybody. Y'all say y'all can hear me. Salute, salute, salute. You say he won't drop out? You don't think he gonna drop out? See, and I did that because I've been seeing on other networks, they said Joe Biden, he may step down. So that's why I didn't just, I made sure I put the question mark behind the title, just in case he don't. But everybody going crazy right now about him. He may step down, or he may try to mumble and bumble his way all the way through this. That's what I'm hearing. So as y'all can see, the press conference is getting ready to start. I think in like 6 minutes. So as y'all come in, please hit that like button. You said no. Melanie said no. His ego is too big. Say Sheila. He doesn't know where he is. Oh, we already know that. He don't know where he is. You said no. Jeanette said he won't drop out. Let's see. It's gonna. We already know it's gonna be a total train wreck. This right here about to be a total train wreck. I can guarantee you this. YouTube user said no. You said no. I don't believe it. Jill won't let him drop out. That's what Karen Little said. That's what I'm hearing. A lot of people saying Jill ain't gonna let him drop out. I've been hearing he may and he may not. But we gonna find out. So the press conference is getting ready to start. Like I said, as y'all come in, please hit the like button so we can get more people up in. You say after this press conference, he's out. We shall see. Salute to Sean coming straight on in with the 99 cent. Thank you, Sean. I appreciate that. Sean the MAGA. Salute to you, brother. Appreciate that. Beth Roberts said he won't drop out. That's what a lot of people saying. Some people saying he may or he may not, but we're going to find out. We waiting on the press conference to start. You say, yeah, I think I'd rather have Trump beat his hiney in November, say Jane. He's going to pull his hold on, let me pull that back up. You say he's going to pull his white power card. You said Jill thinks she's the president. Yeah, that's what's been going on. A lot of people haven't been happy with that, the way she's been acting. She's been sitting in the president's chair and all type of stuff. So we shall see. Is Joe Biden ready to step down? I see a lot of y'all said no, his ego ain't going to let him. Jill ain't going to let him. So right now we just waiting. I do have the video, the live stream queued up in the back. So I will be checking to make sure it's going to start on time. And just watch. To be honest with you, a lot of people, especially us that supports Donald Trump, we want him to stay in the race. We want him to stay in the race. Let me know, do y'all agree with me? Would y'all rather for Joe Biden to stay in the race? Let me know. Would y'all rather for him to stay in the race? I see Eddie say he would not drop out. Yeah, they say his ego is too big. He ain't going to do it. We're going to find out. This press conference is getting ready to start. As y'all can see right here, it say next up. So we still waiting. I think it's supposed to start in like 3 minutes. So right now we are still waiting for the press conference to start. This is gonna be a total collapse. I can guarantee you. Donald Trump is finna get some ammunition from this live stream, because I already know Biden, he finna get up on this microphone. He finna tell a whole bunch of lies about Donald Trump like he always do. We already know that. He's gonna do that. He's gonna tell a whole bunch of lies on Donald Trump. We know it coming. We already know it coming. Salute to Sean and MAGA again with another donation with the $2 and no problem. Can't wait to see which Joe. Yeah, we waiting to see which Joe is going to be. Is he going to fall asleep? But we already know he's going to be mumbling and bumbling all through the thing. So we already know that's going to happen. But we do have it queued up. We are waiting. Right now, we'll just be talking. You know, as y'all come in, please hit the like button so we can get more people in here. Please hit that like button as you come in. But yeah, we are waiting. Salute to the 500 some people in here. Hopefully we get up to 1,000. Jimmy said, "You're fired, Joe." Oh yeah. Thank you, Miss Bunny, with the $2 with the super sticker. Thank you, Miss Bunny Cornell. Thank you, Miss Bunny. Appreciate it. Appreciate all the support. Everybody that's supporting the channel. I really, really appreciate it. Thank you. Sandra said he may not show up. You know what? That right there, that's a good one there. He might not show up. Biden might not show up. But we definitely finna go ahead and find out exactly what's finna happen. I already know this finna be a total train wreck. We know it's finna be a whole bunch of lies. He finna go ahead and tell on Donald Trump like he always do. He gonna try to force his way to stay in to try to win. I guess try to win the Democrats back, because they all. And if y'all realize some shout out to Cassie Shortrich with the super sticker $2. Thank you, Miss Cassie. I appreciate that. Thank you, Miss Cassie. Don't y'all know now? Y'all see it's more comedians and actors coming out. You had Robert De Niro. Now you got George Clooney coming out of nowhere. Donald Trump absolutely went off on George Clooney. He went off on George Clooney. Why all of a sudden now all these actors and stuff, because they see how bad Joe Biden losing, now they want to just come out the woodwork now and think they words are just gonna persuade people to vote for Joe Biden. I've been seeing that a lot. The more Joe Biden is draining, the more actors, older actors, are coming out. You know what I'm saying? Because they can't put out no good movies no more. They done with the good movies. Now they want to come into politics and act like they've been watching the entire time. Like that right there is crazy. Shout out to Miss Emily Mason with the $2. Thank you, Miss Emily. I appreciate that. Thank you. I really, really appreciate that. Salute to everybody that's in here. You said Joe Biden will be replaced with someone else. Say George Lee. Say he thinks Joe Biden is going to be replaced. We are keeping tabs with everything. We are waiting right here. So we ain't missed anything, y'all. So we going to find out. Because the Democrats, they have been trying to get Joe Biden out. They want him to step down. Now Nancy Pelosi done about turned her back on him. And you know we don't like Nancy Pelosi. She done turned her back on him. She want him to step down. So is this the press conference where Joe Biden is ready to step down? Or is Jill Biden going to force him to stay? Is Jill Biden going to force him to stay? Shout out to the new member. We got Miss Shadow Lady. Thank you for becoming a YouTube member. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you for becoming a YouTube member. If you want to become a member, your comment will stand out. You will be lit up in green. So if you would like to become a member, make sure you hit the join button on the channel and you can become a member of the channel and your comment will stand out and more people will be able to see it. So I appreciate everybody who become YouTube members. Thank you. I really appreciate that. So we are still waiting right here for old Sleepy Joe to come out so he can start lying on Donald Trump. And I know Donald Trump going to be watching this too, because he already know Joe Biden finna tell a million lies. And why haven't Donald Trump betted Joe Biden $1 million to play him in a golf game? And Joe Biden still ain't accepted it. He said on the debate he can beat him. But now he's been ghosted. Oh, bumbling Biden. And the thing is, we found out how Joe Biden really plays golf.
The green's right over there. It's that way. Look, sir, just bend a little bit that way and swing away and just straight up. It's fine. Great.
I got my handicap, which when I was vice president, down to a 6.
That's how Biden play golf. But he think he can beat Donald Trump. Look, I'm telling y'all, Donald Trump can play golf so good, it's amazing. The man can play golf. There's no way Joe Biden can beat Donald Trump. He know he can't beat Donald Trump. He was just sitting up there lying, knowing he cannot beat Donald Trump. And got why Donald Trump said, look, I bet you $1 million if you beat me, whatever charity you want that $1 million to go to, let's do it. Joe Biden, he still wouldn't accept it because he knew he couldn't beat him. So right now, like I said, guys, we are still waiting for the press conference to start. You see, we still waiting over here on this screen right here for it to start. So shout out to everybody who's being patient, everybody who's here. I really, really appreciate it. Please hit that like button as you come in. I would really, really appreciate it so the notification can get out to more people. We're going to find out today if Joe Biden going to step down. A lot of y'all saying y'all don't think he is. Shout out to Jason Robinson with the $10. Thank you, Jason. I really, really appreciate it. Shout out to everybody who's showing support to the channel. Thank y'all very, very much. I really, really appreciate it. Thank you all for that. Thank you. Thank you for the donations. And Sydney come right back with $2. Thank you, Sydney. I appreciate it. Shout out to everybody showing support to the channel, blessing the channel. I really, really appreciate it. Thank y'all very much for that. As y'all can see, we are still waiting for old bumbling Biden to come on out. You know, he probably still asleep right now. I think Joe Biden is still asleep. I don't think he up yet. Let's go over here and make sure old bumbling Biden is not out yet. No, he's not. He's not out yet. So right now we are still waiting on bumbling Biden. We still waiting on bumbling Biden. Shout out to Master Plumber Utah with the $5 super sticker. Thank you, Master Plumber. I really appreciate that, brother. Thank you. Thank you for the support, man. I really, really appreciate that. Shout out to everybody for the support. Like I said, right now we are still waiting on bumbling Biden. And as we waiting on bumbling Biden, please hit the like button as you come in so more people can join. I would really, really appreciate it. Please hit that like button so more people can join. If it's your first time here, please consider hitting that subscribe button. I really appreciate it. Shout out to the new member, Ian Cormier. Thank you for becoming a YouTube member. I really appreciate it. Like I said before, anybody want to become a YouTube member, your comment will stand out in green and everybody will be able to see your comment more. So if you'd like to become a YouTube member, make sure you hit that join button. Thank you. I really, really appreciate it. Shout out to the new member. Let's go. So right now we are still waiting on bumbling Biden. He haven't came out yet, y'all. I think he's still asleep. You say, hey, hold on. I like this right here. Y'all see what Harold Harris said? He said they're warming up his milk. He's asleep. Jason said he's asleep, dude. He haven't woke up yet. Do Joe Biden even know he got a press conference today? Do Joe Biden even know he got a press conference today? Or is he still asleep? Somebody get Joey some milk. Somebody please get Joey some milk. Oh yeah, we still waiting on bumbling Biden. You said they changed it to 7 o'clock. I hope they didn't do that. I hope they didn't do that. Don't tell me they changed it to 7 just so Biden can get more sleep. Is that why they did that, so he can get more sleep? I believe that's the reason why they probably did that. They wanted Biden to get some more sleep before he come out. He don't know what a Brian said he don't know what a stage is. Brian, I'm with you 100%, brother. He don't know what a stage is at. He's still looking for the stage. Do anybody know what Biden? Hawkins said he getting a diaper change. Something is happening right now because Biden's supposed to be came out. And then we got the beautiful Miss Michelle Klingler became a YouTube member. Thank you, Miss Michelle. I really appreciate you. Thank you, Miss Michelle. Thank you very much for becoming a YouTube member. Shout out to all my members. I really appreciate it. Salute to everybody that's in the chat. Like I said before, please hit that like button as you coming in so we can get a lot of people up in here. We're about to have fun and listen to Joe Biden tell all these lies on Donald Trump like he always do because he think his lies is going to win the people over. He think his lies is going to win the people over, and it's not going to win the people over because we don't believe him. We don't believe him. He's a liar. Joe Biden is a full-blown liar. Like, come on now. But we are still waiting on him. He haven't came out yet. Come on, Joe. Wake up, Joe. Somebody, please put in the comment section, wake up, Joe. Do he know his, don't he know his, he's supposed to be started at 5:30. Joe is 8 minutes late. Where is Joe? Because, I mean, look, we already in here waiting on him to tell all these lies. We are waiting. We know they're finna be told. You got your own party going against you right now. They don't even like you, Joe. Your own party wants you gone. Is Joe Biden going to step down? Wakey, wakey, Joe. Shout out to G-Man with the $4.99. Thank you, G-Man. I really appreciate that. Thank you, brother. Shout out to G-Man for that $4.99. Thank you very much. Shout out to everybody. Like, he's still napping. Where he at? See, we still waiting on him. Do anybody got Joe Biden's phone number? Do anybody got Joe's phone number to call him? What's up, Erica? What's going on? Do anybody got Joe's phone number to call him to see where he at? Because like right now, he's late to his own meeting. What's wrong with him? Shout out to Lewis Statham with the $10. Thank you, Lewis. I appreciate you. Thank you, Lewis. Shout out to Lewis for the $9.99. Thank you, Lewis. I appreciate you, brother. Yeah, yes. So somebody need to call 1-800. Joe got to go. You know what? Maybe Joe took his own medicine. Do y'all remember the medicine that Donald Trump presented to all of us? He wanted me to make sure I show this every stream. If you're having a hard time sleeping and you need to go to sleep, you need to get you some Bidenica. And this is where Donald Trump, since we waiting on Joe and Joe ain't here yet, Donald Trump wanted me to show y'all this. If you're having a hard time sleeping, make sure you pick up to some Bidenica. Please pick up to some Bidenica.
If you're having trouble sleeping, ask your doctor about Bidenica, the sleep aid made from 100% Joe Biden press conference.
The best way to get something done, if it holds near and dear to you that you like to be able to, anyway.
Bidenica has a patented blend of confusion and forgetfulness that will calm the most overactive brains.
COVID has taken this year, just since the outbreak, it's taken more than 100 years. Look, here's the lives. When you think about it.
When they sold out American jobs and killed the Keystone Pipeline, it kept me up all night worrying about how we pay our bills. But then I got Bidenica, and I've never slept better.
Sometimes when I get hopped up on sugar, my parents give me Bidenica so I pass out. Other times they give it to me during the day, probably so they can do the deed. Gross.
Warning: people who have used Bidenica have experienced rapid lying and an inability to secure the southern border. Others have hallucinated and fought breakfast cereals.
Corn Pop was a bad dude.
Ask your doctor if Bidenica is right for you.
So let me know, have anybody tried some Bidenica? Have anybody tried Bidenica? Please let me know. Please let me know. Shout out to Miss Ashley Valentine with the $2. Thank you, Ashley. I really, really appreciate it. Thank you, Ashley. Shout out to all the super chats coming through. Then we come through. We got Michael Graham with the $10. Salute to you, Mike. I appreciate you, brother. Thank you very much. Like I said, we are still waiting on bumbling Biden. You know what? Bumbling Biden is still asleep. He forgot he had a press conference today. Biden, you have a press conference. Nancy Pelosi, all your Democrat friends, they want to know, is you going to stay in the race or is you going to step down? They want you gone, Joe. They want you gone, Joe. I mean, that's what they want to know. Salute to everybody showing up in the chat. I really appreciate it. Please hit the like button as you coming in so the notifications can go out to more people. I really appreciate it. And like I said, we are still, and salute to everybody who's being patient, everybody who's waiting, because I'm waiting. You see, we waiting on bumbling Biden. He ain't showed up yet. It keeps saying next up. They say he's supposed to be came up at 5:30. We still waiting on Biden. Oh, yeah, I seen that, Tina. Did he really introduce Zelensky as Putin today? Yeah, he did. Look, this man brain is fried. Biden fried. Like, this man brain is fried. It's mush. Shout out to Mama of 6. Thank you, Mama of 6 became a YouTube member. Thank you. I really appreciate it. Salute to all the new members. Like I said before, your comment would stand out in green. It's more easy to see your comments. So I appreciate everybody becoming a member. Everybody that's super chatting, supporting the channel. I really appreciate it. Thank you all for that. And like I said, we are still waiting on bumbling Biden. Look, I asked earlier, do anybody got Joe Biden's phone number? Can somebody please call Joe and tell him, Joe, your press conference is supposed to have been started 30 minutes ago. Where you at, Joe? Where are you, Joe? We are sitting here waiting on you to mumble and bumble throughout the whole thing and tell all these lies on Donald Trump like you've been trying to do. That's why he's destroying you in the polls, and you know it. We already know he's finna go ahead and tell a whole bunch of lies. But we are waiting patient. We are waiting. Keep saying next up, President Biden holds a press conference. Right now, it seems like Biden is holding some sleep. Because I think Biden is still asleep right now, but I do have it pulled up. So shout out to everybody that's coming in. Like I said before, make sure you hit the like button so we can get more people up in here. But like this right here is, look at this right here. And salute to Benny Johnson too, man, with the memes and stuff right here. How Joe Biden just falls asleep. Is Joe Biden going to do this during this press conference? Y'all let me know.
Thank you for doing this. How do you pull this out? Frightening. This is not how decent people behave. This is not how people who want to be president behave.
You know, there's not many people watching anyway. So,
is there anything you regret?
This is sort of the last gasp.
I know you believe that Mr. Trump will be a better president of the United States.
That's what we're talking about.
Total disaster. What are you going to do about it?
Let's skip over that.
But he's going to win?
They're overwhelmingly popular with the American people. Well, look, I never thought that would happen. Never, 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 never. If it fails here, Katie bar the door.
We'll see.
Thanks for having me.
Bye.
Then he just falls asleep. Then he just falls asleep. This is, you know what I'm saying? This right here is crazy. So now it's saying we will begin shortly. So now we are still waiting on bumbling Biden. As y'all can see, they haven't started yet. So we are still sitting here waiting. Salute to Miss Ashley Valentine again. Thank you, Ashley, for the $2. Say America is in danger under Taliban Biden. Exactly. You know, with Biden being in charge, I mean, man, he just done destroyed this country. He done destroyed this country. Donald Trump gonna have a lot of work to do once he get back in office because Joe Biden has destroyed so much stuff, man. It is just ridiculous. He had destroyed a lot of stuff. I mean, open borders, inflation, groceries are high. It's kind of hard to buy a house right now. It's just so much stuff. Imagine if the teleprompter go out today. Oh my God. Imagine if the teleprompter go out and Joe Biden has nothing to read off of. What are you going to do? They're going to cut feed. I guarantee you they're going to cut feed. But we are still waiting on bumbling Biden. Come on, bumbling Biden. We ain't got all day because we already know you finna tell a whole bunch of lies. And we are sitting here waiting patiently for you to come on out because we know it ain't going to be that long no way. See, and here's the thing. If y'all was in here when I did the live stream with the rally with Donald Trump, you see how Donald Trump did that long speech, especially when the music started playing? Do y'all think Joe Biden could have did that? You think Joe Biden could have talked that long while that music was playing without mumbling, fumbling, forgetting his words? It would have been a total train wreck. He cannot do that. Biden cannot do that. He cannot do what Donald Trump do. It's impossible. And they know that. Hey, look what Mark just said. 81 million votes. Yeah, right. Yeah. 1-800-FJB. Y'all, hey, look. Is that Tomato Joe? Let's go. Like I said, we still waiting on Tomato Joe. Tomato Joe ain't came out yet. We are still waiting on Tomato Joe. I don't know what's taking him so long. I told you, like y'all said before, he's still asleep. He is still asleep. Hey, look at this! Joe sleep. Somebody wake up Joe. But yeah, like I said, we having a good time here. Like I said, we just waiting. I still have it at the bottom of my screen here. I can still see when it's getting ready to start. It's supposed to have been started about an hour, I think about 30 to 40 minutes ago, but maybe Joe's having some ice cream. Maybe he's eating ice cream right now. Maybe that's what it is. Y'all think he eating ice cream? Let me know if y'all think Joe just eating ice cream. I think that's what it is. You said Joe Biden. I like that one. Shout out to Tropical Tim in the Philippines. Joe Biden. Yep, hey, that's about exactly right. So right here, we are still waiting on Sloppy Joe, Crooked Joe, Sleepy Joe. So we're going to still keep on pushing. Salute to everybody that's still in here. I really, really appreciate it. Like I said before, please hit that like button so we can get more people up in the chat. So we are still waiting on bumbling Biden. Let's go up here.
Hello and welcome to the first 2024 presidential debate hosted by CNN. I am Jake Tapper, and somewhere around here is my colleague, Dana Bash. I'd like to set the ground rules to this debate. First off, Biden is allowed to speak whenever he wishes. We will have commercial breaks whenever Biden feels the urge so that his needs can be taken care of. This may or may not include naps, energy boosts, or a snack such as ice cream. On the other hand, Trump is not allowed to speak unless spoken to, and if he interrupts Joe speaking, we're automatically going to deduct 10 points from Trump and Dore. As the hall moderator of this debate, I can call it off at any moment and declare it a complete victory for Biden. Where did Trump go? He was just here.
Oh my God. Shout out to Michelle Perkins with the $2. Say hello, Adogg. Hello, Michelle. How you doing? I appreciate you being here today, Michelle. Thank you very much. I really, really appreciate that a lot. But like I said, we're still waiting on bumbling Biden. I mean, this is just crazy, bro. Like, I mean, you got to look at it. I mean, when you got your whole party want you gone, they don't trust you anymore. They don't want you anymore. They're trying to push you out the door. Like, come on. Like, this is crazy. What you say? Doretta, can you please stream ABC New Live real quick? This is too funny about Biden might be canceled after embarrassed. He might be canceled. That's what they saying. Hold on, let me check it out and see while we waiting on that. Let me pull this right here up real quick. Y'all give me just a second. Like I said, I'm still watching on the screen. He ain't came out yet. So right now we just still waiting. Let me pull this other one up. Let's see.
If you're having trouble sleeping, ask your doctor about Bidenica, the sleep aid made from 100% Joe Biden press conference.
The best way to get something done, if it holds near and dear to you that you like to be able to, anyway.
Bidenica has a patented blend of confusion and forgetfulness that will calm the most overactive brains.
COVID has taken this year, just since the outbreak, it's taken more than 100 years. Look, here's the lives. I mean, think about it.
When they sold out American jobs and killed the Keystone Pipeline, it kept me up all night worrying about how we pay our bills. But then I got Bidenica, and I've never slept better.
Sometimes when I get hopped up on sugar, my parents give me Bidenica so I pass out. Other times they give it to me during the day, probably so they can do the deed. Gross.
Warning: people who have used Bidenica have experienced rampant lying and an inability to secure the southern border. Others have hallucinated and fought breakfast cereals.
Corn Pop was a bad dude.
Ask your doctor if Bidenica is right for you.
Boy, they said, Biden said Corn Pop is a bad dude. Shout out to G-Man with the $2. I really appreciate it. Thank you, G-Man. I really, really appreciate it. Let's see what ABC is over here talking about. Well, what is they talking about? Hold on.
Democrats, the White House specifically, they're not worried about Republicans right now. You know, as Mary Alice was just saying, they're focused completely on trying to assuage Democrats and stopping this bleeding that's happening right now and preventing this domino effect that could happen as soon as this press conference is over. And this is not a good start for him. Democrats are going to say, look, yes, we understand that he corrected himself. He realized he made a mistake and fixed it very quickly, but that doesn't matter. To voters, they know sort of the quick headline of things. They might not have seen the full comments. The thing that's going to stick out to them is this notion that Biden mixed up the president of Ukraine and the president of Russia. And that's going to just be the issue right there. So look, I'm not sure that.
Think about this. He messed up the names of Russia. Oh my God. Like, this is what they tired of. This is what they talking about they tired of. Salute to the donations that came through. Sydney with the $10. Thank you, Sydney, for the $10. And then come right behind her, we got Miss Shelly Bergman with the $2. Say, bless you. Thank you, Miss Shelly. I really appreciate that. And then right behind Miss Shelly, we got Mr. Run White with the $10. Say, great show, Adogg. High's mama, Adogg. Oh, she's doing good. She might be in the chat. I don't know if she's in the chat or not, but she's doing good. I appreciate you, Mr. Run. Thank you, sir. I really appreciate that. Salute to everybody with the donations. Thank y'all very, very much for that. And like I said, right now, we're just going to hear what ABC is talking about since old bumbling Biden ain't came out yet. It's still saying we waiting on him. So right now, we'll just keep listening to what ABC have to say for the time being.
That this is going to help him at all.
I mean, certainly not. And so, Mick, we take that to you, right? Because we know that world leaders are watching this. We know that both our allies, they've been watching how this is all playing out, foes as well, of course, because there is concern about what's happening in the Middle East. There's concern about what's happening with Ukraine as well. And so Biden takes this moment to pledge U.S. support for Ukraine, and then he makes this gaffe. And Mick, you talk consistently about how Russia only responds to strength. Is Biden viewed as a strong leader?
So, Ken, I think that the NATO leaders that are currently in Washington do view him as a strong leader. His policies has really resulted in strong support for Ukraine through all of this, which needs to continue, I think, in NATO's mind, because quite frankly, as you point out, if Russia thinks it can succeed in NATO, in Ukraine, the next stop could be a NATO country, and then we would all be at war because of Article 5 of the convention. That has been challenged by former.
Thank you, Miss Dominic Jeanette, with the $10. Thank you. I appreciate everybody showing support. Everybody that's leaving the super chats. Thank y'all very much for that. Thank y'all. I really appreciate that. Thank you, Miss Ashley Valentine, again with the $2. Thank you, Ashley. I really appreciate you. Thank you for all the support. Y'all please hit the like button so more people can come into the chat. And I really appreciate everybody showing support, everybody respecting the chat. And we having fun in here, and I appreciate that. Thank you all. I really appreciate you. Right now, we just listening to what ABC had to say. They over there panicking too. So we listen to what they got to say right now until bumbling Biden come out.
President Trump, who has said essentially that he would not come to the defense of certain NATO countries if they were attacked by Russia. So this is very consequential to them. I think they'll be looking at this press conference, not so much of what President Biden is going to say. I think they know what he's going to say, but how he says it, because it could be determinative on whether President Biden stays in the race and whether, if he does, whether he is successful in November. And that has consequences to them.
It certainly does. And as Mick is talking, you can see this video here off to the side. What you're seeing there is a different angle. And you are seeing President Zelensky's reaction to the moment that President Biden mistakenly called him President Putin. And so you're seeing Zelensky's reaction there right before he went to the podium. So, Galen, I want to bring you in here because you've been talking a lot about this polling. And it really, the polling is showing that Americans, a lot of them, believe that President Biden is too old to run for re-election. But Galen, if he were to not be on the top of the ticket here, where does the argument start for Republicans if Kamala Harris is then at the top of the ticket?
Yeah, I think one of the arguments that you've already heard is that she didn't actually win a Democratic primary. And so Democrats have been taking the case to the American people that Donald Trump himself is an anti-democracy candidate because of January 6th and his activities surrounding that. They're trying to turn the argument on its head and say, well, you know, if it's not Joe Biden, the person who won the primary, then it wasn't a democratic process. To be clear, the parties are not in the Constitution, and the process for picking a nominee for each of the parties is largely left up to them. The parties can design the process the way they like. And so if they want to replace Biden one way or another, it is a possibility that the Constitution, for example, will not prevent them from doing.
All right, this is a wild time in our democracy. Mary Alice, Rachel, Mick, and Galen, thank you all for being here with us. We always appreciate.
Boy, if you look at it, they are panicking, boy. Shout out to Miss Ashley again. Justice for President Trump. FJB. And then come right behind her, we got Mr. Dunn with the $2. You think Corn Pop will come make Biden quit? Will come make Biden quit? I hope so. Yo, shout out to y'all. Thank you. Thank you for the support. I really appreciate all of you. Thank you very much. I really appreciate that. Salute to G-Man with another $2. Thank you, G-Man. I appreciate you, brother. Thank you. So right now we still waiting. Y'all see this right here? See how we still waiting on Biden? Y'all see this? Look at this right here. Look how we still waiting on Biden. It's been almost an hour. And somebody said he's eating ice cream right now. They say they think he's eating ice cream. Let the meltdowns begin, say Robert. That's exactly what's going to happen. I mean, this right here is wild. But it's okay. We'll get back to this right here and see what they're talking about.
Appreciate you, and thank you for streaming with us. I'm Kana Whitworth. We'll, of course, bring you the President's High Stakes News Conference live when it happens. First, though, we have more special coverage coming up. The news never stops. Neither do we. Stay with us.
Well, there we go. So we still waiting on bumbling Biden. So we still waiting on bumbling Biden right here. As y'all can see, he still haven't came out yet. Like, come on, Biden. What are you doing? My chat, all of us here have been waiting on Biden to come out so he can spew these lies about Donald Trump to think he's going to persuade people to vote for him, and it's not going to happen. It's not. Your whole entire party wants you gone. Your whole party wants you gone. What are you going to do, Biden? I mean, you say he's probably asleep thinking he gave his speech. Yeah, y'all hear what Miss Margie Rodriguez said? He's probably asleep thinking he gave his speech already, and I can definitely believe that. And I believe that's definitely what it is. Or do you think he's on the phone with Corn Pop? I think he's on the phone with Corn Pop. I mean, come on, with all these lies and stuff. I mean, come on now. You got to be kidding me. You have to be kidding me. I mean, just look at the difference right here. That's why Donald Trump said the deep state.
This is the final battle. With you at my side, we will demolish the deep state. We will expel the warmongers from our government. We will drive out the globalists. We will cast out the communists, Marxists, and fascists. We will throw off the sick political class that hates our country. We will rout the fake news media, and we will liberate America from these villains once and for all.
I have to say, Donald Trump has some of the best speeches ever. Who can cut a speech better than Donald Trump? I was hearing somebody yesterday was saying that Joe Biden speeches are way better than Donald Trump. And I'm like, what freaking world are you in? I don't care if you're a Biden supporter, but you have to be honest with yourself. How can you be honest with yourself by saying Joe Biden can cut a better speech than Donald Trump? I mean, you should be locked up for that, for even saying something like that. Like, come on. You hear what Gary Carr said? Trump 2024. Everybody put Trump 2024 in the chat. Put Trump 2024. And right now, we'll probably go back to see what ABC is talking about. Let me pull this back up and see what they're talking about.
But largely, most lawmakers have not publicly stated.
Absolutely.
The discussions are like behind closed doors.
So much anxiety. I mean, I talked to one person who works for the party today who told me, and he was willing to go on the record as someone who works for the party. He said that this is a campaign that is paralyzed, that no one believes at this point that they can win. He said that members are not stupid. Members of Congress he was referring to are not stupid. If the campaign had real numbers to back up a pathway to re-election, they would come to the Hill and show everyone those numbers. But so far, we've heard from members of Congress themselves, they did not see much data presented from the campaign today. Look, the members of Congress are also talking to their voters, their constituents, the people that they represent, and they are hearing over and over, they're telling us that they are hearing a real concern, even from Democratic-based voters, that the president should step aside. I mean, I think the crisis within the Democratic Party is real. It is being felt right now, and it really, like we've been talking about all day, raises the stakes for this press conference tonight.
Yeah, something that we have been talking about for days now is this crisis. Mary Alice Parks from the White House, we thank you so much. And now we want to bring in our chief White House correspondent, Mary Bruce, who reports in from the NATO summit today.
President Biden stood on a stage alone and faced reporters. Tonight's news conference, a critical test. His campaign well aware every word will be scrutinized. He has to show the American people he has what it takes in live, unscripted moments to beat Donald Trump and serve another 4 years, or else the steady stream of Democratic defections could become a flood. Just moments ago, the president misspeaking in a NATO event, introducing Ukrainian President Zelensky as Russia's Vladimir Putin, before quickly correcting himself.
Ladies and gentlemen, President Putin. President Putin. We're going to beat President Putin. President Zelensky. I'm so focused on beating Putin, we got to worry about it. Anyway, Mr. President.
I'm better.
You are a hell of a lot better.
It comes as our new ABC News Ipsos poll
Now, look at this right here. Look at this. He literally mixed up Zelensky with Putin. And this right here is who they voting for. They voting for Joe. But the man, look, he knew he messed up and then he tried to correct it real fast. This is crazy. That is such an embarrassment. Just like Rainey Allen said. That is man, come on. Donald Trump never do anything like that. Never do anything like that. That is wild to do something like that. Man. Shout out to GGP with the $10. Love the streams and channel. Still new here. But I love the coverage. Trump 2024, baby. Thank you, GGP. I appreciate you being here. Thank you for the support. Thank you for the $10. Thank you very much. And then we got Miss Michelle Klingler. Thank you for the $10. That guaranteed as a memory care nurse. They can't get him to get it together 100%. No, they can't. Thank you, Miss Michelle. I really appreciate your support. Thank you very much. I really, really appreciate that. He literally mixed up the president's name. Are you? Oh, my God. Like, this is wild. This man is a total train wreck. Look, this is crazy.
Shows 85% of Americans think he's too old for a second term. Biden has defiantly insisted he's not going anywhere.
I am running and going to win again.
And our national poll shows even after that disastrous debate, the president remains locked in a dead heat with Trump, 46-47. But as pressure grows on Biden to drop out, tonight ABC News has confirmed that his campaign has started to privately survey voters to see how Vice President Kamala Harris would do if she were the one to take on Trump. With Biden under fire, Harris has been his relentless defender on the campaign trail, today appearing in battleground North Carolina.
Thanks to Joe Biden, if there is one single person who deserves credit in the world for strengthening NATO, making it stronger, making it more united and more effective, that is Joe Biden. That is Joe Biden.
And our new poll shows that in a head-to-head matchup with Trump, Harris actually fares slightly better than Biden, beating him 49-46, still within the margin of error. It all comes just 24 hours after actor and Democratic mega donor George Clooney implored Biden to get out of the race, calling the president a hero. And after former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi signaling—
Oh, come on. That's a freaking lie. So obviously they just threw Kamala in there and she just 49% over Donald Trump. 40. Come on, man. Them polls are freaking lies. There's no way in the world that right there is true. That's a hypothetical. There's no way. Those are lies. I'm telling you, man. That's why when you go to ABC, CNN, they do stuff like that. They literally did that. See, I guess they trying to do that to see if that's going to try to force Joe Biden, if he just step aside and let Kamala just take over. Since she's polling better than Trump, just let her take over or something. I mean, come on, man. That's a lie. There's no way that right there is true. Them polls are a freaking lie, bro. There's no way I'm believing it. There's no way I'm sitting here for to believe it.
the president can still decide to drop out of the race, but urging him to make that decision soon.
It's up to the president to decide if he is going to run. We're all encouraging him to make that decision because time is running short.
Mary Bruce for that. More than a dozen Democrats on the Hill are now publicly calling for President Biden to step aside. Today, officials from President Biden's campaign went to the Hill to meet with Senate Democrats. The meeting described at times as tense. Was it enough to convince them? Our senior congressional correspondent Rachel Scott picks up the coverage now from Capitol Hill.
Behind closed doors, Senate Democrats listened for more than 2 hours as top Biden campaign officials made their case for why the president could still win in November and should stay in the race.
What's on everybody's mind, is there a clear path to victory here? And can we honestly say that we're on the path to defeating Donald Trump and holding onto the Senate and holding onto the House of Representatives?
One senator describing the meeting as tense at times. We're told a number of lawmakers complained to the Biden team that they were being put in difficult, impossible, and untenable positions, having to defend the president's disastrous debate performance to their constituents back home. One senator telling ABC News, "I needed to see hard data that showed a path to success in November, and we did not get that."
Senator Whitehouse,
2 hours later, the meeting breaking up, the president's aides leaving, senators filtering out.
You know what? I just heard somebody say this in the chat. They said they already starting to cheat. So you telling me you can just remove Joe Biden, throw Kamala in there, and she just automatically beat Donald Trump in the polls? Really? And we supposed to sit here and believe that? That right there ain't nothing but lies. That's a bunch of freaking lies. Like, there had to be a fake poll for them to say something like, see, because at this point now, they trying to get Joe Biden out of there. So like I said before, if they showing him them polls saying Kamala is a little bit better than him, I guess they trying to force Joe to step aside and get Kamala to take over, since they're trying to make it seem like she's polling better. That right there's a lie. There's no way I'm finna sit here and believe it. And so Biden still ain't came out yet. It's still showing that we will begin shortly. So he ain't even came out yet.
Some of my concerns are allayed. Some others have been deepened.
I spoke with Senator Sheldon Whitehouse of Rhode Island as he was heading into the meeting.
Do you believe that President Biden is the best person to defeat Donald Trump in November?
I am going to hold off until we've had this conversation where they will discuss that exact point.
This was Senator Whitehouse after the meeting broke up.
How would you describe the meeting?
Cordial and constructive.
Constructive, okay, but not necessarily enough so far.
I'm not going to characterize it that way.
Peter Welch of Vermont is the only senator to openly call for the president to drop out. Writing in the Washington Post, "We have asked President Biden to do so much for so many for so long. It has required unmatched selflessness and courage. We need him to put us first, as he has done before." I asked him if today's meeting changed his mind.
I have not changed my mind, but I really appreciate the White House folks coming over.
West Virginia Senator Joe Manchin hinting the situation will come to a head this weekend.
I think everyone will be talking over Friday, Saturday, and by Sunday you should have some idea of what's going on.
To Rachel Scott for that. And we turn now to ABC News analyst and political...
Boy, they are panicking, boy. They are panicking. They trying to find a way. They literally convincing Joe Biden that he's going to beat Donald Trump. Donald Trump is beating them in every swing state. He's beating them badly, and they still convincing this man who just got two presidents' names. He mixed up Zelensky and Putin, and this is the man that they want in charge. He don't know where he's at on stage. Don't know what he's doing. And they still trying to convince themselves that Joe Biden can beat Donald Trump. I mean, come on, man. Like I said before, like somebody said, I believe they ready to start cheating. I'm telling you now, they are ready to start cheating.
If your constituents are saying Biden needs to go, you need to say that. Don't be afraid to say that. Her one request was wait until after the NATO summit is finished. The NATO summit just wrapped up a couple of hours ago. We're already seeing some members start to trickle out, but again, there's going to be more members who potentially come out tonight and tomorrow.
And we've also heard from President Barack Obama initially the day after the debate, basically saying, look, folks, I've had bad debates too. This is not unusual for people to have a bad night. But now it sounds like he may, in addition to Nancy Pelosi, be playing some kind of role behind the scenes. What are your sources telling you?
Yeah, really fascinating. I mean, George Clooney, famous actor, Democratic donor, wrote this op-ed that sort of shocked everyone yesterday, where he said, I love Joe Biden. He's done a great job as president. But look, what you saw on the debate stage a couple of weeks ago, that's the Joe Biden I've seen up close and personal. And I've talked to all these members of Congress, all these Democratic leaders. Everybody agrees he has to go.
Like, everybody agree that Joe Biden got to go. That's what they're saying. And the thing is, why is so many actors and comedians and all this coming out trying to support Joe Biden out of nowhere? First, you remember they had Jack Black, the comedian Jack Black, endorse Joe Biden. Then had come Robert De Niro. Now had come George Clooney. Who the next actor gonna be? Remember they had The Rock at first. Who they gonna have next? They are panicking so bad that they are going out finding actors and comedians to try to back Joe Biden. Literally paid Jack Black to endorse Joe Biden on the comedy stage. Like, this is just crazy. Just like Jimmy said, all failing old actors. Just coming out of nowhere. You ain't heard Donald Trump say anything about George Clooney. He didn't even say anything about Robert De Niro until Robert De Niro did that little press conference outside the White House. Not the White House, but outside the courtroom that Donald Trump was in. Running his mouth. Oh, just like you said, don't forget Taylor Swift. Like, it's just, man, it's just crazy. All these people just trying to come out right now. So, like I said, we're still waiting on bumbling Biden.
Go, or they're going to lose the White House. Democrats will lose the White House and they'll lose the Congress. George Clooney, before he actually penned that op-ed, he actually consulted and talked to former President Barack Obama. These two are very close friends. They were both at a fundraiser for Biden just a few weeks ago, where people felt Biden was really struggling and not basically showing that he was having trouble like keeping up with everyone. So Barack Obama did not advise him against writing this op-ed. He sort of, allowed his friend to do this. And so that's just one example where Barack Obama, clearly a powerful person, he's close with George Clooney, he could have advised him not to run this. He could have said, look, this is bad for the party. We got to stick with Joe Biden. He didn't. And that's what's going on with Nancy Pelosi. It's what's going on with Chuck Schumer in the Senate. And it's what's going on with Hakeem Jeffries in the House. All these leaders, members look to them for messaging guidance. You know, if they were out there saying, you know, Joe Biden's our guy, everyone needs to stop, you know, undercutting him. What you're seeing right now, it's not as bad as what perhaps you think it is. If they were working behind the scenes to keep Democrats in line, that would be one thing, but none of them are doing this. And I think it's really fascinating because, you know, all these Democratic leaders, they're the ones who could potentially have the sway to push Joe Biden out. It's important to note that in George Stephanopoulos' interview, he actually asked Biden point blank, what would you do if Nancy Pelosi, Hakeem Jeffries, and Chuck Schumer came to you and said, step aside? He wouldn't answer that question, Lindsay. And there's a reason he wouldn't answer that question, because that would be a really tough thing for Biden to ignore. And yet it looks like increasingly we are reaching.
Look at this. I already know this right here finna go ahead and be a disaster. That Joe Biden finna run his mouth and lie. They already trying to push him out. So this right here is sure enough gonna make them want to push him out. Salute to Mr. Ron White with the $10. He also has the nuclear codes. He's going to try and steal with the 10 million illegal vote. God help us all. And President Trump. Yeah, that's what it is. Why leaving the border open? That's why he's leaving that border open. Like, we ain't stupid. We know exactly what's going on. We know exactly what they are trying to do. See, when they in this panic mode like this, now they setting the room up, getting ready. We already know what their plan is. We already know what they finna do. We already know what they're going to try to do. But I doubt Donald Trump ain't finna let that happen. He paying close attention to everything. They not finna do this. Talking about 81 million votes. Yeah, right. 81 million votes.
A moment like that.
And I know, Rachel, at this point, I'm asking you to read tea leaves here, and I guess that's a little bit what political punditry is, but you have the added benefit of having some close sources there. But one thing that you said really I thought was very interesting, in that it really doesn't matter if he's perfection tonight. If this speech is flawless, it sounds like that is not going to be enough. And really, I guess, so my question is, initially I was going to say, are we prolonging then the inevitable if he has a great press conference tonight? The word inevitable is really what I want to ask you about. Does it seem like him stepping aside at this point is inevitable based on what you're hearing?
Look, it's going to be up to Joe Biden ultimately. And we know that he has a reputation for being rather stubborn, for saying, look, the media, Democratic establishment, people have underestimated me before and I have overcome it. So it's going to have to be up to him to do this. But I do think that these lawmakers in Congress are realizing that they have an influence in this moment, that they can make their voices heard. They can address Biden privately as well and try to push him out. And so I think that we're starting to see the party. It's on that trajectory. It's hard for me to imagine a scenario where after tonight, that all of a sudden stops. I mean, it feels like a flip very much has been switched, Lindsay, and it does feel like it's a matter of time.
All right, Rachel Bade, we're going to ask you just to stand by for a moment and bring back in ABC's Mary Alice Parks from the White House again. And Mary Alice, we know Biden's campaign is testing head-to-head matchups of Vice President Kamala Harris against former President Trump. And an ABC News Washington Post Ipsos poll shows her with a 3% lead over Trump. Are Democrats really considering that possibility?
I think there are a few Democrats that are.
That right there is a bunch of crap. Look at this crap. A hypothetical vote preference, Kamala Harris 49% over Donald Trump 46%. Really? That is bull crap. That ain't nothing but a bunch of freaking lies. So you can just throw her in there and say she's 49% over Donald Trump. Like, come on now. You got to be kidding me. That there's no way that is possible. And then they talking about, well, you think they ought to just go ahead and swap him out with Kamala? She'll do a lot better. Man, come on. Kamala is just as worse as Biden. That's why I paused it right here. 49% over 46%. Like well, I'm telling you, they don't do anything but sit here and lie. You got to be kidding me with this. Man, I tell you the truth. Mama way up. I see you. No way. It's funny. There's no way she's 49%. So you just swap her out. So swap Biden out. Throw Kamala in there, and she's just automatically over Trump. Really? That's like you're going to throw Gavin Newsom in there, and he's 49% over Donald Trump? You're going to throw Hillary Clinton in there, and she just automatically 49% over Trump? Like, come on, man. They try to make you believe anything.
Real pitch to some of those conservative voters that were not interested in voting for former President Trump. Some of those Nikki Haley style voters who don't like the former president's foreign policy, who don't agree with some of the things that he has said about how he would potentially back out of NATO, how he would back out of support of Ukraine, the ways that he has potentially been cozy with Russia. This was exactly the kind of moment that the Biden team had hoped for, and really, I think, could have seized on to win over some of those swing voters, but all of that obviously lost in the noise here. The president just unable to get that kind of messaging across when so many questions instead circling around his own health, condition, and stamina.
And Mary Alice, I want to bring you the same question of the conversation that we talked about with Rachel Bade, and that is tonight's performance almost a moot point? Is even if it's flawless, would it be potentially too much, too little, too late for many of the donors and the head honchos of the Democratic Party?
Look, I think that there's a big party that we're talking about at many different levels here. We're talking about the president's reelection campaign, donors that support that campaign. But there's also the Senate map, the House map. I think that we have heard from some donors, and we'll likely continue to hear from some donors who might move their focus and talk publicly about moving their focus to other races. I can tell you that I've heard from staffers who are working to get Democratic senators reelected say that maybe it would actually help their case. People would be convinced that Trump was going to win, and so it would help Democrat Senate candidates up for re-election to make an argument that they will be this check on Trump. So will there be that kind of reshuffling of money and attention? Maybe. But look, we do still have 4 months. I think that to play devil's advocate here to this conversation, the president could, in theory, continue to turn the page slowly.
Why is Joe Biden taking forever to come out? Where is Joe Biden? We've been here an hour and 30 minutes. Joe's still eating ice cream at the park. He's still eating ice cream at the park. Salute to Miss Ashley Valentine with the $2. Thank you, Ashley. I appreciate you. Thank you. Ashley been showing a lot of love tonight. Thank you. I appreciate it. Salute to everybody that's in here. Like I said before, please hit that like button for me. We are still waiting on Joe Biden. Hadn't came out yet. I've still got my other screen open and he ain't came out yet, so we are still waiting. So let's keep listening.
Slowly restore one bad night, that he had seen Biden twice, and that this was not just a bad night. Really fascinating stuff, Lindsay. One other lawmaker telling myself and Will Staken, who did this reporting, that she had seen Biden 4 times in person over the past year and had noticed that decline. She was so concerned at one point, Lindsay, she said she privately raised concerns to White House staffers, joking with them that they had to, quote, keep Biden stitched together until November. So really just some fascinating new reporting on how there potentially were some concerns, how Biden potentially was not looking so great even before the debate, and how that is shaking out now, Lindsay.
And this obviously goes to the belief among some that the debate was not an isolated event, although the president says it was. Do you think that tonight, potentially having one good night is able to counter potentially one bad night?
Well, you've heard from those that have been chasing around lawmakers, all week, that potentially it will not be enough. But it does seem, Lindsay, that every single time someone comes out to say, hey, I've seen President Biden up close and personal, and he is the man that we saw on the debate, it has not gone well for them. Think about the op-ed from George Clooney. He said that the Biden at the debate was the Biden at the fundraiser that he hosted weeks ago. Now you have multiple attendees at the White House, lawmakers. Like I said, a former Obama White House official telling me the Biden that they saw just 2 weeks before the debate was the Biden they saw at the debate. So it is the same idea that it is not one bad night,
A
Lindsay.
critical time for President Biden, his presidency, and his campaign, and another potential make or break moment. The president is about to hold his first full news conference in 8 months amid growing pressure from some members within his own party to withdraw from the race against Donald Trump. President Biden will be live here, unscripted, taking questions from reporters. The International Press Corps assembled after the NATO summit in Washington. Of course, that means the world is watching. The country is watching this tonight. The president has repeatedly insisted he will not step aside in this race, saying he is staying in this race for president. More than a dozen Democrats now on Capitol Hill have called for him to withdraw from the race, all of this after his debate performance. Earlier today, the president's top campaign aides went to Capitol Hill to meet with Senate Democrats behind closed doors.
All right, here go bumbling Biden.
We just concluded this year's NATO summit, and the consensus among the members was it was a great success. It's especially momentous because it represented the 75th year, the most important military defense alliance in the world's history of the world. We should never forget that NATO grew out of the wreckage of World War II, the most destructive war in history. The idea was to create an alliance of free and democratic nations that would commit themselves to a compact of collective defense. Standing together, they knew we'd all be safer. An attack on one would be treated as an attack on all. And it's worked because a would-be aggressor knows if they attack one of us, they'll be attacked by all of us. Sending that message is the best way to deter aggression and prevent wars in the first place. For those who thought NATO's time had passed, they got a rude awakening when Putin invaded Ukraine. Some of the oldest and deepest fears in Europe roared back to life because once again, a murderous madman was on the march. But this time, no one cowered in appeasement, especially the United States. We collected intelligence that Russia was planning to invade Ukraine months before the invasion. I directed the intelligence community to be a significant amount of intelligence be declassified so I could start building an international coalition to oppose the invasion. Then in February, some of you remember, I warned the world that the invasion was imminent. I rallied a coalition of 50 nations from Europe to Asia to help Ukraine defend itself. Many foreign policy experts thought as Putin amassed Russian forces just 100 miles north of Kyiv, the capital of Ukraine, but Putin thought it was the mother home of Russia. The capital would fall in less than a week. But the Ukrainian people, backed by a coalition to help build, stopped them. Today, Kyiv still stands, and NATO stands stronger than it has ever been. During the week of this summit, several heads of states made it a point in their statements to thank the United States and to thank me personally for all that NATO has achieved. NATO is not only stronger, NATO is bigger because we led the charge to bring in Finland and Sweden into the alliance, and it makes a gigantic difference. Excuse me. Meanwhile, my predecessor has made it clear he has no commitment to NATO. He's made it clear that he would feel no obligation to honor Article 5. He's already told Putin, and I quote, "Do whatever the hell you want." In fact, the day after Putin invaded Ukraine, here's what he said. It was genius. It was wonderful. Some of you forgot that, but that's exactly what he said. But I made it clear, a strong NATO is essential to American security. And I believe the obligation of Article 5 is sacred. And I would remind all Americans, Article 5 is invoked only once in NATO's long history, and that was to defend America after 9/11. I made it clear that I will not bow down to Putin. I will not walk away from Ukraine. I will keep NATO strong. That's exactly what we did and exactly what we'll continue to do. Now, the future of American policy is up to the American people. This is much more than the political question. It's more than that. It's a national security issue. Don't reduce this to the usual testament that people talk about, issues of being a political campaign. It's far too important. It's about the world we live in for decades to come. Every American must ask herself or himself, is the world safer with NATO? Are you safer? Is your family safer? I believe the American people know. The answer to all those questions is yes. And I believe the American people understand that America is stronger because of our alliances. I believe the American consensus from Truman to Reagan to me still holds today. America cannot retreat from the world. We must lead the world. We're an indispensable nation, as Madeleine Albright wrote. Now let me turn to three other key issues. Just this morning, we had a great economic report showing inflation is down. Overall prices fell last month. Core inflation is the lowest it's been in 3 years. Prices are falling for cars, appliances, and airfares. Grocery prices have fallen since the start of the year. We're going to keep working to take down corporate greed to bring those prices down further. Meanwhile, Trump's calling for a 10% tariff on everything Americans buy, including food from overseas, vegetables, and other necessities. And economists tell us that that would cost the average American working family another $2,500 a year. It's a tax of $2,500 a year. Second, our efforts to secure the border, southern border, is working. After Trump killed the bipartisan effort to secure the border, Republicans and Democrats had worked on, because he thought it would benefit me and make him a loser, Republicans walked away. So I took executive action last month. As a consequence, working with Mexico, border encounters have gone down over 50%. The current level is lower today than when Trump left office. Third, for months, the United States has been working to secure a ceasefire in Gaza, to bring the hostages home, to create a path for peace and stability in the Middle East. 6 weeks ago, I laid out a detailed plan in writing. It was endorsed by the UN Security Council, the G7. That framework is now agreed on by both Israel and Hamas. So I sent my team to the region to hammer out the details. These are difficult, complex issues. There's still gaps to close. We're making progress. The trend is positive, and I'm determined to get this deal done and bring an end to this war, which should end now. Let me conclude where I began. We're the United States of America. We are the indispensable nation. Our leadership matters. Our partnerships matter. This moment matters. We must rise to meet it. With that, I'll take your questions. I've been given a list of people to call on here. Reuters, Jeff Mason.
Mr. President, your political future has hung over the NATO summit a little bit this week. Speaker Pelosi made a point of suggesting that your decision on whether to stay in the race was still open. George Clooney and a handful of lawmakers have called on you to step aside. Reuters is reporting tonight that UAW leadership is concerned about your ability to win.
UAW just endorsed me, but go ahead.
Thank you. My question for you is, how are you incorporating these developments into your decision to stay? And separately, what concerns do you have about Vice President Harris's ability to beat Donald Trump if she were at the top of the ticket?
Look, I wouldn't have picked Vice President Trump to be vice president until I think she was not qualified to be president. So let's start there. Number one, the fact is that the consideration is that I think I'm the most qualified person to run for president. I beat him once, and I will beat him again. Secondly, the idea, I served in the Senate a long time. The idea that senators and congressmen running for office worry about the ticket is not unusual. And I might add, there are at least 5 presidents running or incumbent presidents who had lower numbers than I have now, later in the campaign. So there's a long way to go in this campaign. And so I'm just going to keep moving. And because, look, I got more work to do. We got more work to finish. There's so much, we made so much progress. Think about it. Think about where we are economically relative to the rest of the world. Name me a world leader who wouldn't want to trade places with our economy. We've created over 800,000 manufacturing jobs, 1.5 million, so things are moving. We got more to go. Working class people still need help. Corporate greed is still at large. The corporate profits have doubled since the pandemic. They're coming down. And so I'm optimistic about where things are going. Danny Kemp, AFP.
Thanks. Thank you, Mr. President. I wanted to ask you about you mixed up Presidents Zelensky and Putin earlier today. And you now have sort of your key allies, including the British Prime Minister, the President of France, and the German Chancellor having to step in and make excuses for you on that. And officials here are saying off the record that your decline has become noticeable. Hasn't this now, frankly, become damaging for America's standing in the world? Thank you.
Did you see any damage to our standing in my leading this conference? Have you seen a more successful conference? What do you think? And the Putin piece, I was talking about Putin, and I said, and now, at the very end, I said, Putin. I said, oh, no, I'm sorry, Zelensky. And then I added 5 other names. Look, guys, the idea anybody suggests that we haven't had an incredibly successful conference. How many times did you hear in that conference, I know it sounds too self-serving, but other leaders, heads of state, in thanking me, saying the reason we're together is because of Biden, because Biden did the following. Look, folks, this is, well, anyway, I thought it was the most successful conference I've attended in a long time, and find me a world leader who didn't think it was. Next one, Nancy Cordes, CBS.
Thank you, Mr. President. You mentioned other instances in history where presidents have faced a challenge, but what makes this moment in history so unique is that it is not your enemies who are calling on you to reconsider your decision to stay in the race. It's your friends, supporters, people who think you've done a great job over the past 4 years. Have you spent time thinking about what it would mean for your legacy, which you've worked decades to build, if you stay in the race, despite the concerns that voters say they have, and you lose to someone who you yourself have argued is unfit to return to the Oval Office?
Well, look, I'm not in this for my legacy. I'm in this to complete the job I started. As you recall, understandably, many of you and many economists thought my initial initiatives that I put forward, can't do that, it's going to cause inflation, things are going to skyrocket, the debt's going to go up. What are you hearing now from mainstream economists? 16 economic Nobel laureates said I've done a hell of a job. That under my plans so far and what's going to happen in the future if I'm reelected, that things are going to get much better. Our economy is growing. I was determined when I got elected to stop the trickle-down economic theory, that if the wealthy did very well, everybody else would do well. My dad was a well-read, decent guy. I don't remember much trickling down on his kitchen table. Middle-class people and working-class people need help. And so what happened is I decided to was able to implement as president what I believed when I was a senator. And that is that The way to build this economy is from the middle out and the bottom up. That way, we grow the economy. And the wealthy still do very well. They do fine. And guess what? Find me an economist, a mainstream economist who said we haven't done well. What have we not done that isn't working right now? And so we got more to do, though. We got to finish the job. And by the way, I come from the corporate state of the world. Delaware has more corporations registered in Delaware than every other state in the nation combined. I'm not anti-corporate, but corporate profits have doubled since the pandemic, doubled. It's time things get back in order a little bit. It's time, for example, if I'm reelected, we're going to make sure that rents are kept at 5% increase of corporate rents for apartments and the like and homes are limited to 5%. We're going to make a lot of changes that I've been talking about because we're going to continue to grow this economy. And by the way, remember how I got so roundly criticized for being so pro-union, not labor, union. Well, guess what? I've been the most pro-union labor president in history. Not a joke. And guess what? We had the Treasury Department do a study. When unions do better, everybody does better. Everybody does better. And we talk about how, for example, remember when we talked about getting the computer chip industry back in the United States? Used to be 40% of the industry. We invented the chip. 40% of the industry was in the United States. And former presidents decided that the best way to do it is find the cheapest labor in the world, send the product over there and import what the product was. And so what did I do? I was told not to go over to to Asia, including Europe, but Asia. And I remember going to South Korea, convincing them to invest $20 billion in the United States to build computer chip factories. And I asked why when they finally decided to do it. And the answer was because you have the safest economy in the world and you have the best workers in the world. So the whole idea here is we've invested, there's over $50 billion in investment in computer chip manufacturing just coming in the bean. None of you thought that would happen. None of you thought that would happen. But it's happening. It's happening. And it's going to grow economies. All through, and by the way, red states and blue states. Manufacturers as much in red states as blue states. I've made no distinction. So my generic point is that the idea that we can't continue to build and grow the economy, make it fairer. And like I said, from my standpoint, when the middle class does well, that's when the whole economy grows. The poor have a shot, the wealthy do well, but the wealthy got to start paying their taxes.
As a follow-up, sir, you mentioned that your Vice President Kamala Harris would be ready to serve on day one. Can you elaborate on that? What is it about her attributes and her accomplishments over the last 4 years that make her ready to serve on day one if necessary?
First of all, the way she's handled the issue of freedom of women's bodies to have control over their bodies. Secondly, her ability to handle almost any issue on the board. This was a hell of a prosecutor. She was a first-rate person, and in the Senate, she was really good. I wouldn't have picked her unless I thought she was qualified to be president. From the very beginning, I made no bones about that. She is qualified to be president. That's why I picked her. Felicia Schwartz, Financial Times.
Thank you, Mr. President. The presidency is the most straining job in the world, and it's 24/7. How can you say you'll be up for that next year, in 2 years, in 4 years, given the limits you've acknowledged that you have today?
The limits I've acknowledged I have?
There's been reporting that you've acknowledged that you need to go to bed earlier and your evening around 8.
That's not true. Look, what I said was, instead of my every day starting at 7 and going to bed at midnight, it'd be smarter for me to pace myself a little more. And I said, for example, the 8, 7, 6 stuff, instead of starting a fundraiser at 9 o'clock, start at 8 o'clock. People get to go home by 10 o'clock. That's what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about, and if you looked at my schedule since I made that stupid mistake in the campaign, in the debate, I mean, My schedule has been full bore. I've done, where's Trump been? Riding around in his golf cart, filling out his scorecard before he hits the ball? I mean, look, he's done virtually nothing. And I have, I don't know how many, don't hold me to it, roughly 20 major events. Someone with thousands of people showing up. And so I just think it's better. I always have an inclination, whether I was playing sports or doing politics, just to keep going, not stop. I just got to just pace myself a little more. Pace myself. And the next debate, I'm not going to be traveling in just 15 time zones a week before. Anyway, that's what it was about. That's what it was about. And by the way, even with that, I love my staff, but they add things all the time. At the very end, I'm catching hell from my wife for that. Anyway, I'm sorry, Zeke Miller, Associated Press.
Thank you, Mr. President. Two questions for you. First, on the NATO summit, President Zelensky, in your meeting with him, he pressed you to lift your limitations on the Ukrainian use of American weapons, saying that, in his public remarks afterwards, saying that Ukraine cannot win the war unless those limitations are lifted. Are you reconsidering your position on that? And then secondly, following up on Felicia's question there, leaders of your own party have said that they're not worried about that debate. They're worried about the next bad night and the bad night after that. How can you reassure the American people that you are up to the task and that there won't be more bad nights at a debate stage or somewhere else?
First thing about Zelensky asking for the ability to strike deep into Russia. We've allowed Zelensky to use American weapons in the near term and the near abroad into Russia. Whether or not he should be attacked. For example, should Zelensky, he's not. If he had the capacity to strike Moscow, strike the Kremlin, would that make sense? It wouldn't. The question is, what's the best use of the weaponry he has, the weaponry we're getting to him? I've gotten a more long-range capacity, as well as defensive capacity. And so our military is where I'm following the advice of my commander-in-chief, the chief of staff of the military, as well as the Secretary of Defense and our intelligence people. And we're making a day-to-day basis on what they should and shouldn't go, how far they should go in. That's a logical thing to do. Second question related to
bad nights, sir. How can you reassure the American people that you won't have more bad nights, whether they be on a debate stage or it's a matter of foreign policy?
Well, I tell you what, the best way to assure them is the way I assure myself. And that is, am I getting the job done? Am I getting the job done? Can you name me somebody who's gotten more major piece of legislation passed in 3.5 years? I created 2,000 jobs just last week. So if I slow down, I can't get the job done. That's a sign that I shouldn't be doing it. But there's no indication of that yet. None. What do we got here? Merrick, Pulaski Radio.
Thank you, Mr. President. How are you?
I'm well.
The elections in the US have consequences around the world. You have pretty high standing in Europe. I just asked President Macron about you, and he said we are happy to have him as the President of the United States. But there is a concern. Many people in Poland and across Europe are worried that the former president may win the election. And there's a lot of concern that Donald Trump may weaken NATO, stop supporting Ukraine, or push Ukraine to give up territories to Russia.
They're correct.
And yourself was warning just 2 minutes ago about it. So my question is, do you think that Europe will be left on its own if Donald Trump wins the election? And what's your advice to European leaders to prepare for possible US disengagement?
Well, look, I think, how can I say this without sounding too self-serving? I've not had any of my European allies come up to me and say, Joe, don't run. What I hear them say is, you've got to win. You can't let this guy come forward. He'd be a disaster. It'd be a disaster. I mean, I think he said in one of his rallies, don't hold me to this, recently, where NATO, I just learned about NATO or something to that effect. Foreign policy has never been his strong point. And he seems to have an affinity to people who are authoritarian. That worries, as I tell you from Poland, that worries Europe. That worries Poland. And nobody, including the people of Poland, think that if he wins in Ukraine, he's going to stop in Ukraine, that that's going to be the end of it. And so what I can say is, I think I'm the best qualified person to do the job, to make sure that Ukraine does not fall, that Ukraine succeeds, that the European alliance stays strong. You may recall, no one was talking about Finland joining NATO. I remember talking to Putin right after we got elected in Geneva, and he was talking about what we should do. We couldn't be in Eastern Europe, et cetera. And I said, you're looking for the Finlandization of Ukraine, because you're going to get the NATOization of Finland. And about 4 weeks later, I got a call. No, that's not true. Probably 5 months later, from the president of Finland, could he come and see me? Because in my office, I invited him to the Oval Office. We sat down and talked. He said he wanted to join NATO. Could I help? And I did. It wasn't automatic. And then I got a call from the Swedes. I beg your pardon? And so Finland joined NATO, 800-mile border is a significant, and they were already allies, but they weren't part of NATO. And you heard, I think you heard, maybe, I can't recall whether he said it publicly in our closed meeting, but he wouldn't mind being repeated. He said, we decided in Finland, the people of Finland decided they had to be part of NATO. It was in our interest because of the joint ability to be together, to dissuade any attack on Finland. And the same thing with Sweden. It took a lot of selling to some folks, particularly in Turkey and other places, to agree to the expansion. But it expanded, and we're a hell of a lot stronger because of it. We're more secure because of it. And by the way, I was able to get 50 other nations, 50, to support Ukraine, 50. And we were able to bring about a coalition of Europe and Asia, Japan and South Korea. I just we talked about AUKUS, and we talked about the relationship between Australia, New Zealand, Japan, South Korea, the United States. We're making the world safer and stronger because we have to deal with the new arrangement that exists in the world. The Cold War is over. The post-war era is over. What is going to replace it? And I respectfully suggest I have a pretty good idea what that should be. I've convinced a lot of people to follow it, and we're just going to get stronger. David Sanger. Where's the...
Thank you, Mr. President.
Be nice, David.
Mr. President, the NATO declaration that was issued yesterday was very notable because it described China as a decisive enabler of the war in Ukraine for its provision of critical goods to the Russians. That's part of a broader partnership that seems to have cemented in place in the past 2 or 3 years. I think one that you were a little bit doubtful of when we asked you about it some time ago. So I'd be interested to know whether you have a strategy now of trying to interrupt the partnership between China and Russia, and whether or not in a second term you would pursue that, if you could describe that strategy to us. And along the way, could you also tell us whether you think, just to follow up on Felicia's question, that if you were in a room with Vladimir Putin again, the way you were 3 years ago, or with President Xi, that a few years from now you will be able to go negotiate with them, handle them one-on-one?
Well, the first part of the question is, we discussed and I raised in the NATO summit, and others raised, the future of China's involvement, what they're going to do, what they're doing with Russia in terms of accommodating, facilitating them. They're getting access to additional, they're not supplying weapons themselves, they're supplying mechanisms for them to be able to get weapons. And China's position is basically, and I've spent more time with Xi Jinping than any world leader has, over 90 hours since being vice president all the way through, for real. And by the way, I handed all my notes. But my point is that Xi believes that China is a large enough market that they can entice any country, including European countries, to invest there in return for commitments from Europe to do A, B, C, or D, or not to do certain things. What's happened is we had a long discussion about what we cannot, you have to make clear, China has to understand that if they are supplying Russia with information and capacity, along with working with North Korea and others to help Russia in armament, that they're not going to benefit economically as a consequence of that by getting the kind of investment they're looking for. And so, for example, we're in a situation where and we've reestablished direct contact with China after that, remember the balloon, quote unquote, going down, and all of a sudden things came to an end? Well, we set up a new mechanism. There's a direct line between Xi and me, and our military has direct access to one another, and they contact one another when we have problems. The issue is that we have to make sure that Xi understands there's a price to pay for undercutting both the Pacific Basin as well as Europe, and as it relates to Russia and dealing with Ukraine. And so we, for example, if you want to invest in China, as you know this area really well, if you want to invest in China, you have to have a 51% Chinese owner. You have to make sure that you do by their rules, and you don't have the authority, and that you have to provide all access to all the data and information you have. There was a while there, as you recall, the last administration and other administrations, where the access to that market was enticing enough to get companies to come in because they had access to over 1 billion people in a market, not 1 billion, but a lot of people in the market. And so they were doing it. But that got curtailed when we started saying we're going to play by the same rules. For example, the idea they don't abide by the international rules related to subsidizing products by the government funding. So guess what? They're not going to be able to export their electric vehicles to the United States without a significant tariff. Others are doing the same thing around the world. But it is a concern. It is a concern that you have both China, North Korea, Russia, Iran, countries that are not necessarily coordinated in the past, looking to figure out how they can have impact.
Do you have a strategy to interrupt that impact?
Yes, I do, but I'm not prepared to talk about the detail of it in public. And I think you'll see that some of our European friends are going to be curtailing their investment in Russia. In China, as long as China continues to have this indirect help to Russia in terms of being able to help their economy as well as help them in as a consequence of that their ability to fight in Ukraine. The other thing that we talked a lot about is that, and I raised it, and I didn't hear any. I can't swear that everyone agreed because not everyone got to talk about it. But we need a new industrial policy in the West. For example, we talked about how both the EU as well as NATO has to be able to begin to build their own munition capacity, has to be able to generate their own capacity to provide for weapons and the ability to, it came as a surprise to some of us how we had fallen behind in the West in terms of the ability to construct new material, new weaponry, new everything from vehicles to weapon systems. And so one of the things that came out of this was we're going to be meeting again with a number of my colleagues, my European colleagues, is what do we do to increase the capacity of the West, particularly in Europe and Japan, to be able to generate the kind of ability to produce their own weapon systems. Not just for themselves, but to be able to generate that. It's the same, that's what Russia's trying to figure out, that they went to China and they didn't get the weapons, but then they went to North Korea. But we're going to be in a position where the West is going to become the industrial base for it to be able to, the ability to have all the defensive weapons that we need. That was a discussion as well.
President, I'm sure you answered on whether you would be ready to go deal with Putin and Xi 2 or 3 years from now.
I'm ready to deal with them now and 3 years from now. Look, like I said, I'm dealing with Xi right now and direct contact with him. I have no good reason to talk to Putin right now. There's not much that he is prepared to do in terms of accommodating any change in his behavior. And but there isn't any world leader I'm not prepared to deal with. But I understand the generic point is Putin ready to talk? I'm not ready to talk to Putin unless Putin's ready to change his behavior. And the idea, look, Putin's got a problem. First of all, in this war that he is supposedly have won, and by the way, I think, don't hold me to the exact number, but I think that Russia had 17.3% of Ukraine that they've conquered. Now it's 17.4. I mean, in terms of percentage of territory. They've not been very successful. They've caused horrible damage, loss of life, but they've also lost over 350,000 troops, military, killed or wounded. They have over 1 million people, particularly young people with technical capability, leaving Russia because they see no future there. They've got a problem. But what they do have control of is they are very good at controlling and running the public outcry that relates to how they use mechanisms to communicate with people. They lie like hell to the constituencies. They lie like hell about what's going on. And so the idea that we're going to be able to fundamentally change Russia in the near term is not likely. But one thing for certain, if we allow Russia to succeed in Ukraine, they're not stopping in Ukraine. I recommend, I know you know this because you've written about it, read Putin's speech after they moved in, what it was all about in Kyiv. It wasn't about just, anyway, read what his objective is. And anyway, but so I think that I'm prepared to talk to any leader who wants to talk, including if Putin called me and wanted to talk. Last time I talked to Putin was trying to get him to work on an arms control agreement related to nuclear weapons in space. That didn't go very far. So my point is, I'm prepared to talk to anybody, but I don't see any inclination. There is an inclination on the part of the Chinese to keep in contact with me because they're not sure where this all goes. And look what's happened in Asia. We have strengthened the Asian Pacific area more than anyone else has. We just put together with today. I brought on. I asked our NATO allies that we bring on the group from the South Pacific, Australia, New Zealand, Japan, Australia. I already mentioned Australia. And I met twice now, I think, with the 14 leaders of the Pacific Island nations. And we've slowed down what's going on there. We've slowed down China's reach. But there's a lot of work to do. This is a moving target, and I don't take it lightly. Assam from NPR.
Thank you, Mr. President. Asma Khalid with NPR. I have two questions. Earlier, you spoke about the ceasefire plan between Israel and Hamas. We're now looking at 10 months of war, and I'm curious if there's anything that you feel personally you wish you would have done differently over the course of the war. And then secondly, if I may, I wanted to ask you about your presidential campaign. I remember covering your campaign in 2020, and there was a moment where you referred to yourself as a, quote, bridge candidacy, a transition to a younger generation of leaders. I want to understand what changed.
Two things. Let's go back to when you talked about would I have changed anything that's happening with Israel and the Palestinians and the Palestinian movement. The answer is, as you recall, from the very beginning, I went to Israel, but I also got immediate contact with al-Sisi in Egypt. I met with the King of Jordan. I met with most of the Arab leaders to try to get a consensus going as to what had to be done to deal with getting more aid and food and medicine into the Gaza Strip. And we pushed it really hard. And Israel occasionally was less than cooperative, number one. The Israeli War Cabinet, I've been dealing with Israel since Golda Meir. I've saw some of the reporters around here come here all the time have heard me say this. The first time I met with Golda Meir, I sat across from her at her desk, and her assistant was Rabin sitting next to me. That's how far back I go. I know Israel well, and I support Israel. But this war cabinet is one of the most conservative war cabinets in the history of Israel. And there's no ultimate answer other than a two-state solution here. And so what was able to be done in terms of the plan I put together was it would be a process for a two-state solution. And we get the Arab nations to, particularly from Egypt all the way to Saudi Arabia, to be in a position where they would cooperate in the transition so that they could keep the peace in Gaza without Israeli forces staying in Gaza. The question has been from the beginning, what's the day after in Gaza? And the day after in Gaza has to be, the end of the day after has to be no occupation by Israel on the Gaza Strip, as well as the ability for us to get in and out as rapidly as you can, all that's needed there. I've been disappointed that some of the things that I've put forward have not succeeded as well, like the port reattached from Cyprus. I was hopeful that would be more successful. But that's why when I went to Israel immediately after the massacres that occurred at the hands of Hamas, the one thing I said to the Israelis, and I met with the War Cabinet and with Bibi, don't make the same mistake America made after bin Laden. There's no need to occupy anywhere. Go after the people who did the job. You may recall, I still get criticized for it, but I was totally opposed to the occupation and trying to unite Afghanistan. Once we got bin Laden, we should have moved on because it was not no one's ever going to unite that country. I've been over every inch of that, not every inch, the entirety from the poppy fields all the way to the north. I said, don't make the same mistake we made. Don't think that's what you should be doing, is doubling down. We'll help you find the bad guys, Sinwar and company. And all this criticism about I wouldn't provide when the weapons they needed. I'm not providing them 2,000-pound bombs. They cannot be used in Gaza or any populated area without causing great human tragedy and damage. But remember what happened when you had the attack on Israel with rockets and ballistic missiles. I was able to unite the Arab nations as well as Europe, and nothing happened. Nothing got hurt. It sent an incredible lesson to what was going on from the Middle East. So there's a lot of things, in retrospect, I wish I had been able to convince the Israelis to do. But the bottom line is we have a chance now. It's time to end this war. Doesn't mean walk away from going after Sinwar and Hamas. And if you notice, you know better than most, there is a growing dissatisfaction on the West Bank from the Palestinians about Hamas. Hamas is not popular now. And so there's a lot of moving parts. I just have to keep moving to make sure that we get as much done as we can toward a ceasefire, and get those. And by the way, look at the numbers in Israel. I mean, my numbers are better in Israel than they are here. But then again, they're better than a lot of other people here too. But anyway.
Bridge candidacy in 2020, you referred to yourself as being a bridge candidate for a younger, fresher generation of Democratic leaders. And I wanted to know what changed.
What changed was the gravity of the situation I inherited in terms of the economy, our foreign policy, and domestic division. And I think, I won't put words in anybody's mouth. Most presidential historians give me credit for having accomplished more than most any president since Johnson and maybe before that to get major pieces of legislation passed. And what I realized was my long time in the Senate had equipped me to have the wisdom to know how to deal with the Congress to get things done. We got more major legislation passed that no one thought would happen. And I want to finish it, to get that finished. If tomorrow, if we had a circumstance where there was a lineup and I hadn't inherited what I did and we just moved things along, anyway, it's going to change.
Last question.
Haley Bull, Scripps. Or no, Josh Weingrove, I'm sorry, was the next one. I'll do 2 more questions.
Thank you, Mr. President. Many of your colleagues, Democrats in the Hill, are watching tonight as they assess what they want to say about your candidacy. I'm wondering how you're thinking of this right now. It seems like your answer is clear, but they're watching how things go tonight, tomorrow in Michigan, next week in Texas and Nevada. Are you thinking that way about how the next week or 2 goes would inform your...
Am I using that way, you said?
Are you thinking that way about how the next 2 weeks go? Will that affect your decision, or are you fully determined on running in November as the party's nominee?
I'm determined on running, but I think it's important that I allay fears by let them see me out there. Let me see them out, for the longest time it was, Biden's not prepared to sit with us unscripted. Biden's not prepared to, anyway. And so what I'm doing is, and I've been doing, I think we've done over 20 major events from Wisconsin to North Carolina to demonstrate that I'm going out in the areas where we think we can win, where we can persuade people to move our way, where people are already there. And here, look, the other thing is, we have the most extensive campaign organization of anybody's had in a long, long time. We have well over 1,000 volunteers knocking on doors, making phone calls, making tens of thousands of phone calls. We have headquarters, I forget exactly how many, I want to cite a number and then find out I'm off. But we have scores of headquarters in all the toss-up states. We're organized, we're moving, and that's awful hard to replace in the near term. And so, and here's the other thing. I was in the Senate a long time. Very proud of what I've done in the Senate. I was chairman of the Foreign Relations Committee for a long time, and I was chairman or ranking member and chairman of the Judiciary Committee. I'm going to be going down to the Johnson Library. Anyway, I'm going to be going around making the case of the things that I think we have to finish and how we can't afford to lose what we've done or backslide on civil rights, civil liberties, women's rights. There's that little button we have. Control guns, not girls. I mean, the idea we're sitting around, this is where Kamala's so good as well. We're sitting around, more children are killed by a bullet than any other cause of death. The United States of America. What the hell are we doing? What are we doing? We got a candidate saying, promise the NRA, don't worry, I'm not going to do anything. I'm not going to do anything. You got a Supreme Court that is what you might call the most conservative court in American history. This is ridiculous. There's so much we can do still, and I'm determined to get it done. It's about freedom. And by the way, I'll end this. Well, I'm not going to do that. Haley has to come up too. But I remember I made a speech on democracy in Philadelphia at Independence Hall. And I'm not being critical, just observing. The bulk of the press said, what the hell is he talking about that for? Democracy. You did. Democracy is not an issue. Democracy is not an issue. Except the polling data showed 60% of the people knew I was right, thought I was right. I'm not asking you a question. You don't have to answer, obviously. But do you think our democracy is under siege based on this court? Do you think democracy is under siege based on Project 2025? Do you think he means what he says when he says he's going to do away with the civil service, eliminate the Department of Education, make sure, I mean, we've never been here before. And that's the other reason why you say hand off to another generation. I've got to finish this job. I've got to finish this job because there's so much at stake.
We've had some discussions over the past few days with your press secretary about the question of health exams. And you said you take a cognitive test every day in this job. Are you open to taking another physical or test before the election? Governor Whitmer of Michigan, for instance, said it wouldn't hurt to take a test.
Well, look, two things. One, I've taken 3 significant and intense neurological exams by a neurologist. In each case, as recently as February. And they say I'm in good shape, okay? Although I do have a little problem with my left foot because it's not as sensitive because I broke my foot and didn't wear the boot. But I'm good. I'm tested every single day about my neurological capacity, the decisions I make every day. You talk to my staff, all of you talk to my staff. Sometimes my staff talks a lot. But the fact of the matter is, I don't think you have them telling you that all the major ideas we've undertaken haven't been in part initiated by me. I remember with the staff, I said, I'm going to go to South Korea. We're going to get the chip. What are you doing? I'm going to get Japan and Korea back together again after essentially having hostilities toward one another since the end of World War II. I'm going to move and see that we can expand it. You know, the only thing age does is help you with it. Creates a little bit of wisdom if you pay attention. And so the point I'm making is, I think it's important that if the neurologist tells me he thinks I need another exam, and by the way, I've laid every bit of the record out. Hadn't hidden a thing. You ought to ask Trump for his, okay? I laid it all out.
And every single day, I'm surrounded by good docs. If they think there's a problem, I promise you, or even if they don't think it's a problem, they think I should have a neurological exam again, I'll do it. But no one's suggesting that to me now. And I'll ask you another question. No matter what I did, no one's going to be satisfied. Did you have 7 docs? Did you have 2? Who'd you have? Did you do this? How many times? So I am not opposed if my doctors tell me I should have another neurological exam, I'll do it. But that's where I am. Haley Bull, Scripps.
Thank you, Mr. President. You said you're making decisions on a day-to-day basis when it comes to support for Ukraine. Does that mean you have not closed the door on further considering lifting restrictions for U.S.-made weapons inside Russia? And if I may, your convention is coming up where your delegates are pledged to make you the official nominee. If they have second thoughts, are they free to vote their conscience?
Obviously, they're free to do whatever they want, but I get overwhelming support. Overwhelming support. I won, I forget how many votes I won in the primary. Overwhelming. And so tomorrow, if all of a sudden I show up at the convention, everybody says, we want somebody else, that's the democratic process. It's not going to happen.
Even if that means they vote for someone else?
Sure. Look, I'll end this with this. I served in the Senate a long time. I understand the impetus of candidates running for local office and whether they think the topic can help them or not. In my state of Delaware, which was a very, at least a purple, it was a red state when I started, in terms of where you now talk red and blue. I don't recall most of the Democratic presidents winning my state when I was a candidate. The truth of the matter is I understand the self-interest of a candidate. If they think that, running with Biden at the top is going to hurt them, then they're going to run away. I get it. But so far, go and look at the polling data in their states. Look at the in-depth, and by the way, I think you'd all acknowledge, and you're all experts, I'm not being solicitous about the president, you're experts on this stuff. How accurate does anybody think the polls are these days? I can give you a series of polls where you have likely voters, me versus Trump, where I win all the time. When the unlikely voters vote, he wins sometimes. The bottom line is all the polling data right now, which I think is premature because the campaign really hasn't even started. I mean, it hadn't started in earnest yet. Most of the time, it doesn't start till after September, after Labor Day. So a lot can happen. But I think I'm the best I believe I'm the best qualified to govern. And I think I'm the best qualified to win. But there are other people who could beat Trump too. But it's awful start from scratch. And, we talk about, money raised. We're not doing bad. We got about $220 million in the bank. We're doing well. So with that, do you have any want to follow up on any of that you just asked me?
Yes. You earlier explained confidence in your vice president.
Yes.
If your team came back and showed you data that she would fare better against former President Donald Trump, would you reconsider your decision to stay in the race?
No, unless they came back and said, there's no way you can win. Me. No one's saying that. No poll says that.
Mr. President,
okay. Thank you.
This ends tonight's press conference. Thanks, everybody. This concludes.
Respectfully, earlier you misspoke in your opening answer. You referred to Vice President Harris as Vice President Trump. Right now, Donald Trump is using that to mock your age and your memory. How do you combat that criticism from tonight?
Listen to him.
This concludes tonight's press conference. Thank you, everybody. Thanks, everyone.
Oh my God, this was terrible. Oh my God. That was terrible. I was laughing the entire time. I seen a lot of y'all saying, Adogg, you laugh. I was laughing the entire time. He called Donald Trump his vice president, and Donald Trump already on Truth Social going crazy. Wow, bro. He told so many lies. I mean, it was just crazy.
Please welcome President of the
Hold on, let
United
me take this
States.
off. Like that right there was crazy. This was terrible. I mean, all the lies he was saying about Donald Trump, he was bringing up about Donald Trump being on the golf course. I was watching the comment. Y'all had me laughing, man. A lot of y'all was saying that where he took wore off. He said my throat hurt for laughing. Man, I was killing myself laughing, y'all. I'm not even gonna lie. I was laughing. I'm like, oh my God, here he go mumbling and bumbling. When he called Donald Trump his vice president, I couldn't stop laughing. I promise you, I think I drunk 2 bottles of water behind it. He said Donald Trump is his vice president. And matter of fact, let's pull it up on Truth Social while we live. Let me pull it up on Truth Social right quick. See what Donald Trump said. Let me see what Donald Trump said right quick. Hold on, y'all. Let's pull it up. We might as well pull it up. Let me see. See if I can share it over here and show you. See what Donald Trump said. Let me see. Present. All right. See if I can put it on stage. Okay, this is Donald Trump on Truth Social. Let's see what he said. He said, Crooked Joe, I'm following the advice of my commander-in-chief. My.
I'm following the advice of my commander-in-chief, the chief of staff of the military, as well as the Secretary of Defense and our intelligence people.
And then right here,
I directed the intelligence community to be a significant amount of intelligence to be declassified.
Then he said, Crooked Joe begins his big boy press conference with, I wouldn't have picked Vice President Trump to be my vice president, though I think she was not qualified to be president. Great job, Joe.
I wouldn't have picked Vice President Trump to be vice president, though I think she was not qualified to be president.
This is terrible. Oh my God. That is terrible, bro. Donald Trump already on Truth Social. Donald Trump is already on Truth Social going crazy right now. Listen to this again. Listen to this.
I wouldn't have picked Vice President Trump to be vice president, though I think she was not qualified to be president.
He called Donald Trump. That's the reason why the guy asked him, you called Donald Trump your vice president, and Donald Trump on Truth Social going crazy on you already, and he just walked out. Bro, y'all was going crazy in the chat, bro. Y'all had me. I'm telling y'all, I got 3 bottles of water over here, and I literally killed 2 of them listening to y'all comments. Y'all was saying some. I think a lot of y'all in the comment section is some comedians or something. Y'all got to be some comedians. Bro, y'all was saying some funny stuff throughout the whole night. And luckily I had my mic muted because y'all would have heard me. I was dying laughing. He was mumbling. He was lying when he calling Donald Trump his vice president. And and here's the thing right here. The thing is that the question was scripted, and I'm mad that Peter Ducey. I was hoping that Peter Ducey was gonna ask him something, and I think Joe Biden literally skipped Peter Ducey on purpose. I really believe he did that on purpose. He had pre-scripted questions. He already knew because when they asked the question, he was looking down at his paper as if he already knew what the question was going to be, and he already had an answer prepared for it. And a lot of times, you know, when they asked him a question, he wouldn't even answer the question. He'll start rumbling off talking about other stuff. I'm sitting here thinking, what the world is he talking about? I seen a lot of y'all saying the same thing. Y'all were like, what is Joe Biden talking about? What is it? He ain't even answering the question. He just talking. I'm like, I seen a lot of y'all kept saying his brain is what, pudding. Somebody had said that he that Jill got a lollipop waiting on him or when he get off stage. It was just a lot of funny stuff y'all was saying. So I don't know who said that, but y'all said Jill had a lollipop waiting on him when he get off stage. Oh man, y'all already know I'm finna go ahead and upload some shorts because this interview, I mean this press conference he had, this was terrible. And I knew it. A lot of y'all that been in here from the beginning, I said, he finna start mumbling and bumbling. That's exactly what he did. And like I said, Donald Trump is already on True Social going crazy. Look at all these sound bites that Donald Trump already got. All these, look at these sound bites Donald Trump already got.
I'm following the advice of my commander-in-chief, the chief of staff of the military, as well as the Secretary of Defense and our intelligence people. I directed the intelligence community to be a significant amount of intelligence be declassified.
Oh man!
I wouldn't have picked Vice President Trump to be vice president, but I think she was not qualified to be president.
Oh my God, bro. Shout out to Bridget with the $5. We all love you, dog. We all need to do a puzzle to get back the IQ points we lost. Thank you, Bridget. I really, really appreciate it. Salute to everybody been showing the everybody who been like super chatting, supporting the channel. I appreciate all of you that been doing that. Thank y'all very much for that. We done had so much fun tonight, y'all. We done had a lot of fun because I knew this right here was going to be bad for Joe Biden. Donald Trump got so many sound bites. Just imagine the next time Donald Trump do a press conference or his next rally, you know he finna talk about this. Y'all know for a fact. And Donald Trump will be, he got another rally in 2 days. I will be live streaming it on this channel. So if you are new, make sure you subscribe to the channel with your notifications turned on. We definitely going to be checking, live streaming Donald Trump's rally on the 13th. And you already know he is finna talk about Joe Biden saying that Donald Trump is his VP. And I kept seeing a lot of y'all saying, I never known Donald Trump being a vice president. I've never seen that. What is Joe Biden talking about? From that point on, when I heard that, I was done. I was like, oh yeah, it's going to, the way I predicted it was going to go. I just knew it. I knew it. Shout out to Vo's Time with the $2. He called Trump our VP. It was hilarious, man. The chat was going crazy on that. Salute to Bobby Cat with the $5. Said, tell Joe he won second turn, then by him an ice cream. Problem solved. Yeah, that's all he wants is some ice cream, Bobby Cat. That's all he wants. Just give him some ice cream. He good. Like they said, they already said Jill had a lollipop waiting on him when he get off stage. So I guess that was good enough for him. Shout out to Tim Z with the $5 super sticker. Thank you. I appreciate you. Salute to everybody that came to the chat. This was hilarious. Y'all already know I'm finna get ready and start uploading some shorts. So if you haven't checked out my recent video from earlier today, make sure you please go check out my recent video. I posted right before this live stream. Check it out. Let me know that you came from this live stream. But this was, I got to listen to this again by Donald Trump. Yo, I'm telling you, y'all thinking something now. Donald Trump finna have a whole lot of stuff posted on True Social. Somebody said it in the chat. They were like, yo, A-Dog, Donald Trump already got Biden on True Social already. I told you Donald Trump was watching. He already knew. And I present to you Joe Biden's vice president pick, Donald J. Trump.
I wouldn't have picked Vice President Trump to be vice president, but I think she was not qualified to be president.
President? So did anybody know that Donald Trump was Joe Biden's vice president? Did anybody know that? Please let me know. Did anybody know that Donald Trump was Joe Biden's vice president? I just want to know.
I wouldn't have picked Vice President Trump to be vice president, but I think she was not qualified to be president.
I directed the intelligence community to be a significant amount of intelligence be declassified.
Shout out to Miss Cassie Shortridge with the $2. Thank you, Miss Cassie. I appreciate you. Thank you very much, man. We had fun tonight, bro. We had fun. I see you, Patty. Patty said, oh my, I couldn't stop laughing. Then calls VP Donald Trump a she. That's the thing. He called Donald Trump a she and his vice president. Like, come on, bro. This was hilarious. It was hilarious, man. But like I said, shout out to everybody that came out. I appreciate all of you. We had fun, man. We had fun. This right here was fun. You know, glad I waited for this right here. This was hilarious. Shout out to everybody that came out, showed support. I really, really appreciate it. Like I said, make sure everybody that's in here, make sure you come back on the 13th, which is in 2 days. We will be live streaming Donald Trump's rally, and he may be still, you know, they said Donald Trump got to be picking his VP very, very soon. So it could be at this rally, right before the convention. So make sure y'all tune in. Hopefully he may pick. I don't know yet. I will check with Benny Johnson and see what's going on. But I appreciate everybody that came out. We definitely finna go ahead and get up out of here. Thank you all. Shout out to everybody. See y'all saying great live stream, Adogg. Thank you, Lisa. But yeah, appreciate everybody that came through, man. We definitely finna get out of here. But this was hilarious. We definitely finna go ahead and get some shorts uploaded on the channel. Salute to your Run White, dropping that $10 right before I get out of here. He said he also didn't know that he is the commander-in-chief. Yeah, you is right. You right, Ron. I got about that's when I played that. He's supposed to be the commander-in-chief, but he forgot he was the commander-in-chief. I told you. I just knew it. I knew this right here was going to be a disaster. CNN, MSNBC, all of them, they are finna go crazy after this. And the fact that you don't even know that you the commander-in-chief, that part, and then the part you call Donald Trump a woman, and then you said that Donald Trump is your vice president. Oh, man, I couldn't have predicted this even better. This was hilarious, man. Hopefully he knows who's being picked for vice president, man. This right here was crazy. You already know all this right here finna go in some shorts. You already know. Like I said, thank you, Miss Julia Muster. Control guns, not girls. Yes. It's just a lot of stuff he said, man. It wasn't making sense. And I was listening to Joe Biden while watching the chat, and y'all was just going crazy. Y'all was going crazy. I'm like, wow. This speech was hilarious. I promise y'all, I knew it. That's why I kept saying it. I said, this right here, it's finna be a train wreck. He started mumbling. You don't even know you the commander-in-chief. You calling Donald Trump your VP. You send up here a line. Then the reporter at the end of it tried to tell you to say, hey, he didn't even try. See, here's the thing. He didn't even try to correct the reporter. He didn't even try to say, well, that's my bad. I wasn't trying to say Donald Trump's the VP. I meant Kamala. He didn't even try to correct it. The reporter was saying, hey, you said Donald Trump is your VP instead of Kamala, and he still just walked off stage. He didn't even try to correct it. That's another one. He didn't try to correct it. Oh, man. This right here is crazy. It says CNN for Trump. Yeah, man, this right here was hilarious. I'm finna have fun with this, y'all. So y'all get ready. Especially we got new videos dropping tomorrow, but I am finna go ahead and drop some shorts, especially what Joe Biden just did. I got to. So like I said, thank you all for coming out. Thanks for all the support. I appreciate it. Thank you all. And Joe Biden did some creepy whispering. Y'all seen that creepy whispering he was doing? He did it all through the speech. I'm like, what is wrong with this man? It was just creepy. But y'all definitely need to check out Donald Trump True Social, because I'm pretty sure by now he done uploaded some more sound bites of Joe Biden. I know he have. Yes, and bring on the show. Oh, yeah, we finna go ahead and start dropping some shorts in about 10 minutes. So get ready for that. But like I said, thank you all for watching. We're finna go ahead and get out of here. And I'll catch y'all in the next one.